Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 226, a weekly little get-together where we talk about recent gaming news. I am solo tonight as David is off doing David things and all the ominous entails, things that entail. Already getting off to a good start because I'm already tripping over the intro, but hey, what you gonna do? Thank you all for showing up. I am, of course, your host, Stephen Brown, and we will be talking about recent gaming news in this audience interactive podcast. So if you're watching here live at Twitch TV/GamePoints or later at YouTube.com/GamePointsPC, feel free to join in the conversation with your comments, questions, concerns, etc. down below or in chat over there. Just try to keep it germane to the conversation. Being a solo show, these tend to go a little bit shorter, about half the time, so we're going to go through the news at a pretty good clip, but hopefully we can still at least cover some of the bigger things that have happened. Let's go ahead and get into the first topic of the day, and that is going to be, where is it? xCloud is going to be free with Game Pass, which is awesome. Phil Spencer recently put up a blog post titled "You Are the Future of Gaming," and it revealed that Project xCloud is going to be coming for free to Xbox Game Pass. From the article itself. I can do this. There we go. Finally, today we're announcing that this September, in supported countries, we're bringing Xbox Game Pass and Project xCloud together at no additional cost for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members. With Cloud Gaming and Game Pass Ultimate, you'll be able to play over 100 Xbox Game Pass titles on your phone or tablet. And because Xbox Live connects across devices, you can play along with nearly the 100 million Xbox Live players around the world. So when Halo Infinite launches, you and your friends can play it together and immerse yourselves in the Halo universe as Master Chief anywhere you go across devices. Cloud gaming and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate means your games are no longer locked to the living room. You can connect more than ever with friends and family through gaming. And just like you do with the movie and music streaming services, when cloud gaming launches into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you can continue your game wherever you left off on any of your devices. So, I've been wondering what they're going to be doing with Project xCloud for a while, and it seems like they're just adding more value to that Xbox Game Pass, and is quickly becoming one of the best deals you can get in gaming. Now, I am not a Microsoft guy. I don't have Game Pass myself, but it is getting harder and harder to ignore the value that you get out of it, especially since it seems almost every Microsoft first-party title is released on their day and date, including the aforementioned Halo Infinite. It is getting really, really difficult to ignore how strong Microsoft seems to be positioning itself for the upcoming next-gen war between them and PlayStation 5. And right now, just from the outside looking in, I want to say Microsoft is definitely winning this on the PR front. Additionally, they have their big games showcase coming up on Thursday, which I will hopefully be live streaming as well, so you can tune in for that. I think that the stage is set for Microsoft to win this upcoming console generation, but we'll see. Right now, it feels like it's theirs to lose, especially with Sony stumbling out the gate repeatedly, just over and over and over again. I think at the end of the day, though, it's going to come down to pricing between these two juggernauts, and we're not going to get that either from Microsoft this Thursday. They're going to try to delay out as long as they can before one of them announces, and when one announces, the other will announce in quick form. As we've talked about in the show multiple times between David and myself, we both, I believe, are of the same mindset that they're kind of playing this game of chicken with each other. Well, the first one to act will be at the disadvantage because the second one can then counter their price. We've seen this done very effectively before. We all remember that infamous E3 where Xbox had their press conference and then Sony came out and just repeatedly punched Microsoft in the dick over and over and over again. So I can understand why neither one of the giants want to go into that situation willingly ever again, because it seems that who goes first is the one that gets screwed. But we'll definitely see how this shakes out. That aside, I think this is an amazing move, but I don't think it's really necessarily going to affect all that many people out there. You see, cloud gaming is still very much in its infancy. Google Stadia showed that there's not too much demand for it. And honestly, at the end of the day, America's internet infrastructure is just not up to the task for massive cloud streaming. Most people, I don't want to say most, but a lot of people still have data caps. Broadband speeds are still very limited in some areas. It's just not there yet. Maybe within the next 5 years or so, sure. But with Microsoft making these aggressive moves into there, I think they're setting themselves up to have it as a standard for when we actually do get there rather than an extra feature. Additionally, they have played around with this whole idea as just getting a service from Microsoft in general. When I think it was the all digital Xbox that had that for $20 a year for a 2-year commitment or something like that. You get not only the Games Pass, but an actual honest to God console for that price. You just have to pay for the console spread out over 2 years instead of all at once. This definitely seems to be the way Microsoft is going. I would not be surprised to see when Project Scarlet, or that was the Series X. I can never remember. They have too many X's and Xbox Ones and everything in their titles. I get them all jumbled up in my head. And I'm also not an Xbox guy, so forgive me. But they're already positioned themselves in such a way that you'll be able to pay like 30, 40, 50 bucks a month for like 2 or 3 years to get whatever the new console is, and a year of Game Pass and all the other goodies along with it. I would be shocked if they did not have something roll out along those lines, but we'll see as we get closer to those releases. Let me know what you guys think about Project xCloud, the future of streaming, hell, even Stadia, down in the comments below. Try to just keep it germane to what's going on here and try to be respectful to a degree. A little bit of ribbiness fun, outright fanboyism, probably not. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, staying on the Microsoft train here, and let's go ahead and go talk about the fact that we have an next generation coming, which means we're going to start dialing back the older consoles. This is via The Verge. Microsoft discontinues Xbox One X and Xbox One S Digital Edition ahead of the Series X launch. We all saw this coming, right? When the new generation comes up, you start winding down the production of the old one. I still think the most dramatic shift is when the original Xbox stopped, and then they did a hard limit or a hard break on making even the most basic of those systems. They really wanted everyone to go to the 360. That was probably the most jarring console leap, but I don't think this is that. They just seem to be stopping production on a couple of the other random SKUs. Let's go to the article. Microsoft is officially halting production of its Xbox One X and Xbox One S all-digital consoles. As we ramp into the future with the Xbox Series X, we're taking a natural step of stopping production on the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S all-digital edition, says a Microsoft spokesperson in a statement to The Verge. The Xbox One S will continue to be manufactured and sold globally. As an aside, do you see why I get their names confused? Xbox One X and Xbox One S. This shit's a tongue twister. I hope to God Microsoft sorts this stuff out sometime in the next generation, but I don't think they're going to. Back to the article. Reports of an Xbox One X and Xbox One S. Jesus Christ, Microsoft. Come on. At least I can differentiate with Square names, with as wacky as they get. Shortages have surfaced in recent weeks, and there have been an increased demand for Microsoft and Sony's current-gen consoles during the pandemic. While the production is ending on the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S Digital Edition, it's likely that stock for some of these retailers will still be available in the coming months. I agree. I don't think you're necessarily going to have to run out and buy one of these real quick. In fact, I get the feeling that if you wait another 6 months, you'll see the price on these bottom out rather quickly as everyone starts shifting over to whatever the next generation is going to be. That said, I believe Microsoft has recently come out and said, in fact, in that previous blog post, that, hey, for the immediate future, you're going to be able to play games on both systems. So it seems like while they're eager to get the new consoles out, shifting fully over to them is not necessarily a major priority. I personally think they're going to be trying to focus on getting Game Pass numbers up and their whole Play Anywhere initiatives and all that good stuff, which, hey, more power to them. I got a PC. I want their stuff on PC, and they seem to be filling that need for me. So go Microsoft in that retrospect. Nothing really unusual here, right? It's always, I don't necessarily want to say melancholy to see a new system get sunsetted, especially if for someone like myself, who I think the last time I turned mine on was when Halo Master Chief Collection came out. But still, it is the passing of a torch on to a new generation, and those are always exciting to see what new is around the corner. Speaking of new around the corner, let's go ahead and jump from Microsoft to Nintendo and talk about their extremely mini direct they had on Monday. Now, let's go ahead and get this out of the way out the gate. A lot of people are really, really salty about this particular direct. And that is your own goddamn fault if you're upset. Yes, I know Nintendo has not said anything in a long time. I know that they have no plans for anything major over the next 6 months or so because we don't know what the rest of the year contains for Nintendo. I get that they have a lot of projects they haven't talked about. Pikmin 4, the new Metroid game, all that good stuff. But hell, we might even have an F-Zero eventually, knock on wood. And for David's sake, I hope we do, though I doubt it. But Nintendo announced this on Sunday that, hey, we're going to have a mini direct. And they were very clear that it was going to be extremely short and that it was going to focus on third parties. They said that out the gate. This is not like when, what was I bitching about? About how I can't remember if it was Sony or Microsoft, about how they failed to set expectations. I think it was Microsoft. They failed to set expectations and the hype train kind of got overblown and people were pissed. Nintendo did everything right here. They straight up said, hey, don't expect anything first party from Nintendo. Expect this to be focused on third party stuff. Expect this to be very tiny and short. And people still flip the fuck out about it. That's your own goddamn fault. Sorry. You need to keep your expectations in check to a degree. And don't let hype overtake you. Yes, it is a company's job to hype you up. Yes, they do it wrongly in some cases. Sometimes they let the hype train get too out of hand and that is on them, but it is also on you to manage your expectations. So, all of that said, there actually was some good stuff on this mini direct here. Let's go ahead and start off first with the Cadence of Hyrule DLC. Now, I haven't played Cadence of Hyrule. It is essentially Crypto the Necrodancer with a Zelda skin, and I loved Crypto the Necrodancer, but I have yet to try this, so this might actually be enough to get me to pick it up. Cadence of Hyrule will be getting 3 new DLC packs that feature new playable characters, new music tracks, and additional story content. The first pack is available now, but the second and third pack will release before the end of October, with October 23rd being the release date of a bundle that has it all together, and will probably be the day I pick this up finally. I loved Crypto the Necrodancer, and it worked amazingly with Dark Side of the Moon from Pink Floyd. Now, I know the whole Wizard of Oz thing, who cares about that, but goddamn, if that game's tone did not match extremely well to Dark Side of the Moon. I'd recommend putting in that custom soundtrack if you have it on PC. Next up is Rogue Company, an upcoming team-based multiplayer shooter coming to the Switch and also PC via the Epic Store. It's another team-based multiplayer shooter. We really don't need to know one of those. But hey, I wish the best of luck to them. I don't want a game to ever bomb, but this is something that I looked at and I felt like it was 2 or 3 years too late. But hey, it's on the Switch, so maybe I'll get some traction that way. You also had a new trailer for WWE 2K Battlegrounds. It's coming to the Switch and other platforms on September 18th, 2020. Cool. It's a very childlike style wrestling game. I look at this and I see things like NBA Street, NFL. Was it also NFL Street? NBA Jam, NFL. No, what were the kid ones? The street games. Yeah, I know there was NBA Street. I think there was NFL Street too, but I could have sworn it was called something else. I thought I had a different subtitle. Anyways, these are in those line of looking to be far more cartoony. And I think they're trying to take a different path after their last disastrous game, which was just look up montage videos of glitches. It was really, really bad. Then we had 2 games, one of which I did not expect at all. And I'm very excited for both of them. The first one, which I didn't expect, a remaster of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne. And goddamn, this game was amazing back on the PlayStation 2. Atlas is bringing over a new remaster of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne to the Switch and PS4. The new version of the game will include voice acting in the game's cutscenes and multiple difficulty settings. So, both of those are great. Nocturne was brutally hard. Now, I love me a hard RPG, and the Mega 10 games tend to be rather hard, but I don't want to get brick-walled by any of them. The Mega 10 games, the SNT games, tend to have a nasty habit of putting you against enemies that have instant death spells, and if your main character gets hit by one and dies, it's game over. Now, there are ways to mitigate that, yes, but I'd rather hope that they can at least put in an option where it kind of plays like the new Persona Royale, where you can kind of play that if you die, you just kind of respawn at that boss fight, hopefully, so I don't have to go back and lose an hour's worth of progress, but we'll see. Also, voice acting, always welcome in an older RPG. Text-based RPGs of the old PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1 era can get very tiresome to read, especially if you're planning on streaming it. One thing to note as well, the second thing is that, or third thing rather, no Dante. Dante has been removed because they didn't want to pay that licensing fee to Capcom. Instead, it will be Radau from Devil Summoner. Radu. Forgive me, I don't know how to pronounce his name. But he was the protagonist of at least 2 PlayStation games. It was him versus the Soulless Army and him versus something else. I have them both on my shelf somewhere. I don't think I've ever played them, though. But, cool. At least they're putting that character to good use. I've always liked his style. But like I said, never actually played either one of those games. So, couldn't tell you if he's actually a good character or not. Hopefully he is. And then, of course, finally, in the Nintendo Mini Direct, we had another trailer for Shin Megami Tensei 5. Announced a long time ago, but we got a little bit more. No gameplay yet, but we get an idea more of the setting. It's very reminiscent to the rest of the Mega 10 games. High school student, end of the world, rebuild creation, restart, kickstart, evolution, all that good stuff. Collect demons and fight angels. Or fight demons and collect angels. It's a Mega 10 game. If you played one, you know what you're going to get. No new details beyond the fact that it's going to have a simultaneous global launch on the Switch in 2021. Thank God, no year wait for localization like we did with the Persona games. One thing to keep in mind. The Mega 10 games, the mainline ones, are not Persona games. So if you're thinking that you're going to have like the fun daily school life in the day and then you go out and go into Mementos or into the Midnight Channel at night, no, that's not going to happen. These tend to be very hardcore Japanese role-playing games. What I mean by that is think more like Dragon Quest when it comes to things like grinding out and finding all the examples, all the enemies to collect and all that good stuff, because you will be bartering with demons to get them on your side. If Shin Megami Tensei 5 follows the way Nocturne did. Never played the 4th one, unfortunately. It was on DS. Just couldn't get around to it. I'm told it's great, though. So, now that we're done talking about Nintendo Direct Mini, and letting me know what you thought about the Nintendo Direct Mini down below, barring the fact that you were upset they didn't mention things like Metroid Prime or anything like that. They said they weren't. That's on you. But let's go ahead and move on to the next story, and that is the fact that Bungie's Destiny 2's new expansion has been delayed, seemingly for COVID reasons. On their post right here. Beyond Light delayed. We have made the decision to move the release of Destiny 2 Beyond Light to November 10th. Okay, cool. One thing I will mention, thank you, Bungie, for just coming right out and saying it in your blog post rather than having like the 2 or 3 paragraphs of, we feel that Destiny 2 is a great game and that the community blah blah. You guys know the press release thing, how they kind of ramble on for like a paragraph or 2 before delivering the news. This is the way you need to do it. Thank you for doing it that way. I also have to remember that this is opposite. Pointing this way does not actually point the way I want it to. That's the way I want it to point. Back to the article, now that I'm done rambling. As always, our goal is to make the coolest, most entertaining expansion we can possibly make for our fans. To that end, we are doing what's best for the game and moving the launch date. Over the next couple weeks, we'll be unveiling more of what we're working on for Beyond Light and what that also means for Season of Arrivals, which will now extend to November 10th. So, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of this, it sounds like COVID and working from home did delay things a couple months. Okay, expansions, delays suck, but they happen. We have to accept that. This isn't too bad. Yes, I know I've been exceedingly harsh on CD Projekt Red with their Cyberpunk delays, but that's... I don't want to say necessarily different, but I can go on a rant on why I'm a little bit more angry with CD Projekt Red than I am on Bungie on this for delaying things. This is a little bit expected with, like I said, the pandemic going around. People are working from home. It adds a whole series of challenges to on top of everything. What's more interesting, however, is how this is going to upset the timing of the Season of Arrivals. The Season of Arrivals is supposed to be the big lead up to the expansion where they're going to delete some worlds that are going to get vaulted. They have actually been doing cool things with the plot. That shows why you may no longer be able to go back to Io and Mars and Titan and all that good stuff. Now all that's going to get dragged out for another 2 months. That's 8 weeks on what was supposed to be a, I believe, 3-month season. So you're increasing the length of its story progression by another 2/3 long, if I'm doing my math right here. I think it's supposed to be 3 weeks or 3 months to add another 2 months to it, which means the pacing is going to get all sorts of fucked up. And I think we're seeing that now, where as of today, Tuesday the 21st, I believe we were supposed to see the next step of the evacuation quest line go off. Didn't happen today. It's all getting spaced out a little bit longer. So that is unfortunately going to make the season of arrivals feel unnecessarily padded, unless Bungie is able to fill in the gaps in those 2 months with some new stuff, or maybe throw in a couple of new events. What I think is going to happen, if you were to ask me, is that they might throw in a couple of extra PvP events, maybe a random week-long celebration of something or other. But as far as story goes, that's not going to get filled out. In my opinion, I could be wrong. But it is going to make what seemed to be a decent season so far in Destiny stretch on way longer than it needs to. And I don't think they're going to have any really good solutions to fill in that extra padding, which is a shame, because Season of Arrivals has actually been pretty spot on so far. But what you gonna do? Shit happens. That is a danger with these games as season kind of things, these games as services, these season passes, the Fortnite-like model that everyone seems to be adapting. Any kind of disruption in your planned content release can make things seem unnaturally padded. But I think we can all understand on this one because of, well, the vid. Give me 1 second before I move on to the next topic to take a glass of tea. Thank you. So, let's go ahead and move on to the last two stories of the night as we move through here. This next one's up from GameStop. Metacritic will delay reviews for user reviews specifically for games. I want to thank you to Captain Ice Cold, who is a member of our community here, for pointing this one out. It's always good to be able to have these stories ready to go so I don't have to track them down. And if you too want to contribute to the show, you can either join the Discord server down below or email me at Twitter at CapitalistPig21 with any news stories you might want to see talked about for next week's show. Though it's getting a little dry, I normally do this with co-hosts so I can take a moment to breathe. Not happening tonight. It is what it is, guys. Sorry. Back to the article. Metacritic will now delay user reviews for games for 36 hours after release, the company announced. This comes a few weeks after the release of The Last of Us Part 2, which was review bombed on Metacritic. We recently implemented the 36-hour waiting period for all user reviews in our games section to ensure our gamers have time to play these games before writing reviews, a Metacritic spokesperson said. This new waiting period for new user reviews has been rolled out across Metacritic Games section and was based on data-driven research with the input of critics and industry experts. Metacritic said that the decision was not based on users' reaction to any game in particular. Okay, first off, I just want to call bullshit on that last bit. Of course it was based on the backlash to The Last of Us 2. However, that was the catalyst that triggered it, not necessarily everything leading up to it. There have been a lot of review bombings on games from Metacritic. There has been pressure from people to do something about it, but to say that it wasn't based because of the result that Last of Us 2 had, yeah, that's kind of bullshit. Last of Us 2 was the Spartan kick over the side that made them come to this decision. They're just trying to pull heat away from The Last of Us 2. But let's be real here. The Last of Us 2 didn't get meta bombed or review bombed. This specific thing would not have happened yet. Probably would have down the road, but it wouldn't have happened out the gate. Like, not out the gate, but wouldn't have happened with the timing that it did. So, review bombs. I actually have said multiple times that it is one of the few tools the consumer has to speak directly to the studio. And I think it is a very valuable tool to show displeasure when something horribly goes wrong. However, like with any tool out there, it can and does get misused for vile purposes. In the case of The Last of Us 2, this seemed to be more of a backlash against not only some culture war shit, but also the way Naughty Dog treats their employers. The fact that the people were pissed off about what happens to a couple of their favorite characters, and a whole myriad of shit combined where a bunch of different sides who just were angry, upset at The Last of Us 2 with reasons valid or not, decided to just kind of pull all their resources into one pot and attack Metacritic for it. This is one of those cases where I actually think that, yes, this is review bombing is a good thing. Because not everyone that hates The Last of Us 2 or had problems with it or gave it a 0 is insert phobe here. Like I said, there are a lot of reasons to legitimately be upset with the game. I think it's hyperbolic to the extent they're taking things. I think the people that are saying you've ruined my life and Neil Druckmann should be drawn and quartered in the public square are a little bit insane. But once again, there really are very few outlets to let the publisher and developer know directly that you're upset with a game. The only thing that I ask that you do is please, 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 please don't do things like threaten death. Don't do like asshole things on the internet. You all know what the asshole on the internet is. Don't be that guy. You don't need to be that guy. The message gets heard loud and clear without you being that guy. It's when you turn into the internet asshole that people get to hammer you with the most vile shit, which is why the whole Metacritic bombing thing on the other side of the aisle is just a bunch of people saying, oh, that's your fucking men's rights, transphobes, blah, 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 blah. And some of them are. Sure. Granted. There are legitimate assholes on the internet. But when everyone engages, I don't want to say everyone, when a lot of people engage in the asshole behavior, it makes it easier to make that claim. Take that away from people. Focus on what the actual beef is, rather than resulting to insults and all that good stuff. Do I think ultimately that this is a good idea for Metacritic? No, I don't. People already know to take user reviews with a grain of salt. People know that delaying it by 36 hours makes a review pointless because most people look at reviews within the 36 hours of the game. Now, they say it's time to actually have enough time to... People have to give people time to play the game. I can talk. I swear I know how to talk. The problem is that there are people who aren't critics, who aren't on Metacritic, who actually do get the game early. There are people who finish the game in 5, 10, 15 hours. That shit's important to know. If a game has bugs and has issues out the gate where you can't connect to servers, I want to know. And user reviews are a great way of doing that. Because they're not just reviews. Because there is no way to effectively communicate issues with the game anymore. Because if you go to the developer forum, they just mute you, black you out, they can ban you, they can do all this stuff, and they can sanitize what's on their end. And as far as video game-centric forums go, you have, NeoGAF, which, I mean, it's NeoGAF, we all know what that is, and Reset Era, which any dissent from their extremely, extremely narrative worldview gets you banned permanently from there. So there's no way to turn, there's nowhere to turn to actually be able to solve these problems and to let people know, hey, shit's broke. So, keeping user reviews to a 36-hour ban is stupid. And it makes Metacritic, in my opinion, pointless because we're increasingly living in a time where the critic reviews are deviating from the user experience, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that more and more video game reviews are being done under closed environments because they're all becoming games of service. You can't review The Division 2 when you don't have live servers up. What you're playing in a closed environment on a network with everyone else is not going to be the experience you get when you actually log on. Thus, some games, especially the bigger AAA ones who are doing this games of service thing ad nauseum now, can't actually be reviewed properly until the servers go live. So this does a massive disservice. And once again, you can't tell me, Metacritic, that this wasn't based on users' reaction to any game in particular. We know that The Last of Us 2 was the catalyst for this. It might not have been the only one, but it sure as fuck was the one that gets you guys to actually do this. And it's not good. It is actively harming the consumer. And while I love me some capitalism, I fall into the old school branch of don't fucking trust what a corporation is telling you because they're there to make money off of you, as they should be. Caveat emptor, to the nth degree. Buyer beware. You should be distrustful of anyone trying to separate you from your money. Now that we've talked about that, take a quick moment to self-promote. If you like what you see here, you guys know what streamers want. Bits, follows, subscribes, all that good stuff. Give me your money. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the last story. This was kind of a non-story, but fuck it. Let's go ahead and do it anyways. This is via Twisted Pixel, or Twisted Voxel rather, sorry. Final Fantasy VII Remake director revealed a number of parts in the next update. Ooh. But hey, I'm not going to go on a rant about how the fact that it feels that Square's doing Final Fantasy VII's remake by a fly-by-night. We have no fucking plan. We're just going to kind of go on until we can find out if we hit a brick wall. I really hate the fact that it seems like no one's really driving the wheel on this thing, but we'll see. Anyways, neither here nor there. Let's go to the article. Final Fantasy VII Remake will be divided into multiple parts with the exact number of sequels not yet known, but this is going to change soon. In a new interview published on Famitsu, the game director of Final Fantasy VII Remake, Tetsuya Nomura, talked about his plans for the sequel. We learned that the development of the game is going smoothly. Nomura says that he's aware of the fact that he needed to get the sequel out quickly. He also wants the sequel that has better quality than the first game. He asks the fans to have some patience as they strive to deliver another quality sequel as soon as possible. As for the number of sequels that will be developed for the remake, Nomura has clarified that they are hoping to show their future policy in the next update. This could lead to Square Enix finally revealing how many sequels they are planning in order to develop in order to complete the story of Final Fantasy VII Remake. How do you not know how many games you're going to make? This is what I'm talking about. Now, I will say out the gate, I actually liked Final Fantasy VII Remake. I thought it was a solid remake. I think that they did what a remake should, staying very reminiscent to the original while adding some new shit on there. It reminded me a lot of the final Resident Evil remake back on GameCube. We all remember that one. And then the more recent Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 that came out recently. Both excellent, both worth your time if you love the franchise. 3 not as much as 2, but I'm really liking that style of remake. And Final Fantasy VII Remake kind of followed the same trend. While having the extra twist of making it somewhat a sequel without getting too spoilery. I can go down that rabbit hole another time. I don't want to necessarily spoil things that happen in that game. But this is one of those things that makes me really worried because it falls into that whole recent Star Wars trilogy problem, where you can tell those movies were not planned out as a whole unit, but kind of mishmashed together with whatever was working in the previous one and whatever they wanted to change, which is why you had the most recent of the Star Wars movies essentially retcon everything out of the previous one. When you don't have that unified vision and you don't know where the fuck you're steering the ship, you're going to run into the rocks. I'm really worried that Final Fantasy VII Remake's trilogy, duology, quadrilogy, whatever, how many of its games is going to be, is going to have that same problem. I'm hoping it doesn't, but it does not instill me with confidence when Square says shit like this. And I get really squirrely about people not knowing where a story is going to go. And that seems to be the case here. But hopefully, they have this shit hammered out within the next couple of days. It'd be interesting to see if it actually gets revealed at Xbox 2020, which is happening on July 23rd at 9 a.m., which is this Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I might add. And I will be live streaming that if I can be half-assed to wake up early enough to do it. So be sure to take a look at that if you want commentary and reactions and all that good stuff people on the internet seem to crave right here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. Of course, this Thursday is a couple days away, so we do have to find some things to do in the meantime, so we keep ourselves entertained with a couple of new releases this week. We're going to start off with Rock of Ages 3 Make and Break on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, Stadia, and PC. Competitive tower defense meets arcade action and gets rolled up with Ace Team's quirky Monty Python-esque humor into one giant creative game for the ages. This time around, you can even make your own levels. I've played a little bit of Rock of Ages. They're fun. They're silly. When they say Monty Python-esque, it's specifically relating to the art style. If you've seen the intro to the old Flying Circus, you'll get a perfect idea of what the art style here looks like. A lot of like the Jib Jab stuff, if you remember the old Jib Jab cartoons back in the day. Similar idea working with here as far as animation goes. The gameplay itself, well, you roll a giant rock around and you try to break things down. It's simple, but it is entertaining in some way that I can't really explain. But I do like it, and I'll probably pick this up. You have Necro Barista on PC. In a back alley cafe, the dead are granted one last night to mingle with the living. Necro Barista follows a dynamic and diverse cast of characters as they navigate Melbourne's hipstery coffee culture, the questionable effects of necromancy, and the process of letting go. This screams things like Valhalla and Red Strings Club to me, only instead of being cyberpunk, it's necromantic and magical in nature. If you're into those games, cool. This is one of those things I look at, much like Red Strings Club, much like Valhalla, and go, if I'm bored one day, I'll take a look at it. Because I like the idea of it, but it's just not quite for me. It's definitely not streaming material. You have Tannenberg coming out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Tannenberg is a squad-based multiplayer first-person shooter. We were just talking about those earlier in the show. Set during World War I. It's a standalone expansion to Verdun. I played Verdun. Verdun's actually kind of cool. So I might have to give Tannenberg a shot. You have Max in the Book of Chaos coming out on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Max in the Book of Chaos is an 2D arcade 2D action game with elements of run and gun, shoot 'em up, classic games with a strong arcade feeling. By the way, the and was said in context. A kid who will have the destiny of the world in his hands will have to face this wave of disasters, save the world, and free your buddies. I'm reading the description directly to you as it is written. A little bit grammatically weird, but I don't want to hammer on too hard. This almost looks like, I feel there's like just a wee bit of Metal Slug flown into here, combined with a kind of Invader Zimmy look to it. But don't quote me on that. I only looked at this. I will fully admit, I only looked at the screenshots of this game. I saw it and immediately went, that is not for me. But hey, it might be for you. Take a look at it. It's going to be on damn near everything in a couple of days. And then finally, a game that is for me, Carry on the Xbox One, Switch, PC, and Mac. Carry On is a reverse horror game in which you assume the role of an amorphous creature of unknown origin, stalking and consuming those that imprisoned you. I love the reverse horror games. I'm a big fan of things like Sea Salt, Erratus, Lord of the Undead. This has been on my radar and I've been looking forward to a while. I remember seeing it at an event about, either a year and a half to 2 years at this point, and I was very impressed with what I saw then. It is being published by Devolver Digital, and it actually featured a rather large chunk of their infamous 2020 Direct. You know, they actually had the Carry On blob burst out of someone and address the camera, much like I am right now. I am really looking forward to this game. I don't expect it to be that long, probably 4 to 10 hours. If I had to venture a guess, and 10 hours might be pushing it. I get the feeling it's closer to like 4 to 6, especially if it's $20 price point. But if you love playing the bad guy, and you love The Thing, and you love Devolver Digital stuff, and you like pixel art style stuff, I would recommend picking this guy up. I have played him before. It's really weird. At least it was when I played it a year and a half ago. But goddamn, am I looking forward to getting hold of this again. This will be streamed here at Twitch TV/GamePoints sometime Thursday, more than likely when the game releases. Hopefully, I'll get a copy early. We'll see. And everyone, that more or less does it. We went 40 minutes, which is longer than my solo shows usually go. Apologies for not having my normal co-host here, but he's off doing David shit. I don't want to talk about it. It's really bad. But this has been Game Points episode 226. Thank you all for showing up. We do stream here live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. Please feel free to join the show. This is audience interactive. Feel free to chat. Respond down below if you're watching at youtube.com/GamePointsPC. Join the Discord. The link is provided down there as well if you want to reach out to the greater Game Points community. You can follow the show at GamePointsPC on the Twitter, and you can follow myself, Stephen Brown, at CapitalistPig21. My normal co-host, who's here normally, is David Smith. You can follow him at Palshaf_Satori. We'll be back with regular streaming Wednesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we'll be back with more gaming information 8 p.m. Tuesday of next week. Also, don't forget, chance that I'll be co-streaming the Xbox Games Showcase this Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Of course, the best way to know when I go live is to turn on those notifications with follows with notifications turned on so you know when I'm streaming. Until next time, this has been GamePoints. Thank you all for showing up, and I'm out of here.